Mm-hmm. Been recording. Now don't be nervous now that you found out.
We're back.
We're back. So we did it. We read book 1 of 10? Is it 10? 10 books of the Arabian Nights, translated by Sir Francis Burton. What'd you think?
I thought it was a great story, full of jinns, magic, viziers, kings.
It's fantastic. It's really good. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's funny.
And
it's
highly readable.
Very readable, except for there's not a single paragraph break in it. I don't think there may be 3 pages that don't have footnotes. Like, David Foster Wallace would be proud. And they're not just like describing the things that go on. It describes history. It describes his own personal history. Sometimes he just goes on these little rants about random things.
It's very thorough.
Or other people. But it is
Stories within stories within stories within stories within stories. Stories within stories within stories. Stories within stories within stories. We discussed just the premise of the book, like how the king was once betrayed by his wife, and so he has determined to wed a virgin every night and then have her beheaded in the morning. Until he comes across a vizier with a daughter who has taken up the, should we say honor? She has taken it upon herself to
stop the madness. She starts telling stories, but she makes sure that they go so long to last the entire night. So someone will start a story, and then a character within that story will start their story, and then their character in that one will start a story, and then a character within that story will start their story, and then their character in that one will start a story, and then a character within that story will start their story, and then their character in that one will start a story, and it just goes together and just bleeds together.
Almost 400 pages.
Yeah. But they're like, it's not hard to follow. It's like short stories almost. Funny short stories.
What is that noise?
Part fan, part tape. Poor little Jafar. He was like this king's helper, and the king just really wanted to kill him for some reason, so he had to tell story. It's very meta in that regard. And there's a certain scene that involves corn husk. That is the funniest. The scene where the man's having the affair with the woman, and the woman's like, "Oh, let's make it more interesting," and she brings another woman, and he's all excited, and they do their thing, and then he wakes up and he rolls over and she doesn't have a head. Like, it's fantastic.
Oh, the sister beheaded her own sister.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the last part where it's this barber, and he swears that he doesn't talk too much. And he said his brothers talk way too much, so he starts telling stories about his brothers who barely say anything, and he just goes on, and it's smart in that regard. He just rambles. He's rambling like us right now.
And it's a lot funnier than I expected.
It's hilarious. I mean, some parts are hit or miss. Some parts kind of hard to get through those no paragraph breaks, but you get to it, and it's just ridiculously engaging. But it happens so fast that I feel like I can't remember every story we read. Like, I remember there's like the genies, or I remember the guy who's like trapped in the marble block. I can't quite remember why he's trapped in the marble block. I just remember the scene is like he's like in the bed with the marble, and he's just like telling these stories. I can't quite remember why, but it was funny. I don't think that part was supposed to be funny though. But
there are many these and thous to take stock of. Well, it's written in archaic language, but as I said before, it's highly readable.
Sir Francis Burton is insane. He calls it 1,000 Nights and a Night.
Okay.
And entertainments. I really like that.
And it is quite entertaining.
But he straight up says in the intro that he isn't going to go with their Victorian sentimentalities. So yeah, he doesn't leave much certain parts to the Victorian imagination. And he straight up says, like, some words couldn't translate, so I just made up word. There was this one word I didn't know, so I looked it up, and it fit within the context of the sentence, but it was a Dutch word, and just randomly, and just, it's wild. Like, I can't believe I'm about to recommend book 1 of the Arabian Nights, but I totally do.
I enjoyed it, and I learned so much.
It's good so far. Now, will I feel the same way by book 3? I wasn't expecting this. Remember, because
I enjoy the stories about the Hunchback.
yeah.
And then
Well, which Hunchback? There's a lot of Hunchbacks.
the one that was started by the story that was started by the tailor and his
Right.
wife, who had bought fried fish for dinner, and then his wife stuffed the Hunchback with fried fish, and the bone got stuck in his throat, and he eventually died of asphyxiation. So then they had to discard the body, and then they took it to the Reeves house, and then he found it and thought that he had killed him. No. The doctor first,
The tailors took it to the doctor,
and then the doctor tripped over him and he fell down the stairs
and the doctor thought he killed him, so he dropped him, and
through a chute.
and then the Reeve did something. But is the Reeve the one that didn't have the thumbs?
There were many characters without thumbs and fingers and hands, so it was hard to keep track.
And then the Reeve found it and then took it to the Nazarene.
Yes. And then what did the Nazarene do?
Oh, they got found. They got found by the King of China. And then, so the King of China was going to kill them for being a murderer,
Yes,
and they
hanged
started
them
confessing.
all.
So
Yes.
the Nazarene was like, I did it, and then the Reeve came was like, no, I did it. One of those cinematic moments where the entire town starts going, no, I did it. No, I did it. And so the thus needed a story. So this follows this theme over and over again. Jafar had to tell stories. There was a part where there was these 3 women, and they said, don't ask us any questions, and all the men came and asked them a question. And so they were like, okay, now we got to kill you. So they had to tell stories to save their life. Entire book that it's a story to save your life, which by book 7 or 8 we might come up with something very existential and philosophical about the meaning of that.
Yes.
But it's a long story, so not everything was a hit. Like
Right. I mean, well, some were quite heartfelt and sad, but that's the mark of a great story.
yeah,
It's certainly a book of its time. Yes.
super neat.
Remember the story of the cumin-scented ragu,
Yes.
where he was given a meal of cumin-scented ragu, and he ate it with his hands, and he forgot to wash his hands. So when his lady love came to him in the evening, she was so appalled by the scent of cumin-scented ragu that did she have him sentenced to die?
Yeah, she cut off his hand.
Yes, yes. So another
But
Naming.
what she didn't realize is that one of his hands was already cut off. Decided to cut off his left hand. And so there's a lot of swords, a lot of sharp swords.
Yes, and there were many maimed characters.
Meats. I love the phrase sweetmeats. It's just it's a word for cake. That was a fantastic story. But
It's a fantastical story.
now I'm kind of excited to keep going. Crazy, but excited.
Oh, I agree. So on to book 2.
So I was gonna put like this cutscene that says like, check out our checkouts or something, or
Okay, yeah.
I don't know what else we read. Bonus. We also read this. If you've never read this book, read this book. This book is fantastic.
It's an intricate graphic novel
Part metafiction, part memoir. It's
that delves into his family's, or mostly his father's, time in the concentration camps.
yeah.
And it's a raw representation of just his relationship with his father. Well, and I think it's laden with guilt too.
It's a book to read.
So it's sad.
It's amazing. No wonder it won. What?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yes.
no wonder.
Yes, the Pulitzer.
It's-
I just finished reading Just Mercy for
Right.
our book club,
Yeah.
Another sad book. It's nonfiction. It's about Bryan Stevenson's depiction of our justice system and just the injustice of how African Americans are treated in our criminal justice system. Rather grim reading list.
And then
Is yours any?
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's the first one, part 1 of like 3 or something. It wasn't that bizarre, but it's getting there. I read Joker Deuce by Paul Beatty. If you've never read this guy's poetry, this is probably the best book, one of the best books in the stack. It had a flow to it. It had a rhythm. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, it's so good.
So it's poetry?
Yeah, but there's like, it's got a beat to it, and it's just got like this.
Okay.
Listen to this thing. I don't normally do audiobooks, but did this. It's actually pretty good. I was surprised. Just the history of computers and whatnot.
Oh, okay. Yes, it sounds very interesting.
But it doesn't spend like a lot of time on one person, so it's like little snippets. But you kind of learn like you can't do anything by yourself. Like you need teams and stuff. It's really good. Percy Jackson 4, so far the best one in the series. And Defy the Stars, which
I like the title.
It's an interesting themes, but it was probably the weakest on the list. It's a trilogy, so eventually I'll get to the next one.
I also read My Year of Rest and Relaxation. It is probably the most interesting book that I've read this year. It's not for everyone. It's by Ottessa Moshfegh, and it's where her character has decided to spend a year sleeping.
Is it the one with the old painting on the cover?
I'm not sure.
I'll Google it. I'll put it up there.
Okay, but it gets my vote in that it is so bizarre, and some parts are so funny, and of course that there's that humane quality to it. I mean, of course she discusses loss, love, and her parents. So I thought it was quite erudite and well done.
Keep it. Well, I guess we should have introduced ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we need to. Would you like?
Hi, I'm still Ryan.
We're back. I'm Joy.
I wonder if I can splice in that picture I took of all the volumes that I sent you.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That'll probably deter people from wanting to do it. Don't let it. You got at least 9 more videos. It's a good place to stop.